Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. If you need a website, go to squarespace.com/Heaton.
So hello everybody and welcome to another video. The title of this video is entirely accurate. This is no exaggeration. I have got with me a camera or a camera system worth in excess of 50 grand. That's £50,000 and I've been trusted to shoot it. So to put it into context, this van I'm driving, set up as it is, you could buy 3 of these and have change. If you just wanted the van that wasn't converted into a camper, you could buy 5 of these. My Fujifilm GFX 50R, you could buy in excess of about 13 or 14 of those. You could travel the world and photograph all of your dream locations in one go. That's how expensive this camera is. And today, I'm gonna... Hello?
Hi Tom, how are you doing, mate? I haven't heard from you in quite some time.
Yeah, I'm all right, mate, but I'm driving and filming a video at the minute, so if you don't mind, I've just got to...
Yeah, whatever. Listen, how are you getting on with Adam's GFX 50R?
Yeah, it's not Adam's GFX, it's my GFX.
Yeah, but you bought it off Adam, so, you know, second hand, it's Adam's.
No, it's mine. I got an invoice and everything. It's definitely my GFX.
Adam's. But anyway, do you think that 50 megapixels is enough? Because Fuji have actually sent me the GFX 100S. That's 100 megapixels, Tom. Do Fuji ever send you anything?
No, they don't. But to be honest with you, mate, 100 megapixels these days is pretty average.
Average? I don't think so, Tom. That's 100 megapixels. There's nothing else that can touch that.
Yeah, you say that, but Phase 1 have just loaned me an XT IQ4.
What? An XT4? That's not fancy.
No. An XT IQ4.
Yeah, Fuji XT4. That's just little.
No, Gavin, you're not hearing me. A Phase 1 XT IQ4. That's a 150 megapixel medium format camera.
150 megapixels.
Yeah.
150 megapixels? That's like 50% more than I've got there.
Yeah, anyway, mate, I'd love to stop and discuss pixels with you more, but I've got to get going. I've got to make this video. I'm almost at 500,000 subscribers. Can you believe it? And I reckon if I make this video about this camera, that'll bump me up to 500,000, which is pretty cool. But yeah, hey, how many are you on at the minute?
65,002.
Oh well, keep shooting that little 100 megapixel camera and yeah, I'm sure you'll get a few more subs in the end. Right, anyway, mate, yeah, gotta shoot through.
Yeah, alright. See you, Tom. Piece of shit.
So here we have a selection of cameras to compare and contrast and look at the sensors and see what we're dealing with today. So 2 cameras here, this one and this one. This is my Fujifilm X-T4 and this is my Fujifilm GFX 50R. So we've got a crop sensor camera and we've got a medium format camera. Now the difference in quality between these two is night and day, and that's because the sensor size, when you look at the sensor of the X-T4 versus the sensor of the GFX, there's a noticeable difference in size. The medium format sensor is much bigger. But when we move over to the medium format sensor of the Phase 1, it's huge. It's so much bigger than the GFX and it's got 150 megapixels. So you can see what we're dealing with. You can see the capabilities of this camera, how much light it can gather, how much detail we're going to capture. And I don't take it lightly. I really don't. I am well aware how privileged I am to be able to shoot with this camera. And hopefully I can do it justice. I mean, to be fair, the weather is not on our side for the duration of me having this camera, but I do hope I can get at least 1 or 2 nice images that really show off what this camera can do. You know, 50 grand, am I going to recommend that everyone buys one and stick a link in the description? No, absolutely not. But if somebody hands you the keys to a Ferrari, you take it for a drive. And that's what we're doing here today. I've got my insurance, so don't worry, and I'm very much looking forward to indulging in medium format 150 megapixel goodness. So let's go for a walk in the woods and see what we can find. So I've been walking around the woods for about half an hour now, and as it gradually gets light, you start to see more and more, and I found this scene that caught my eye. But looking at it, it's incredibly complex, quite busy, and I'm not sure if it's going to translate into a 2D image, if that makes sense. What I'm looking at, what caught my eye, might get lost in amongst everything else. So it's going to be interesting to see how this 150 megapixel beast renders this scene. Oh God. I tell you what, I'm glad I took out insurance on this camera. So I've got my composition framed up. Let me just go in and focus. So if I double tap, I can get to 100%. And I'm going to focus on the arching tree with the red berries on it. And there's a lovely lever on the lens, so you can really get that pin sharp, perfect focus. We're at f8, which should give me sufficient depth of field to make sure this tree sharp. Oh, there's the rain. Sufficient depth of field to make sure that what is important is sharp. Anything else that may serve as a distraction in the background is nice and subdued. And I'm actually at ISO 400, and that's because the wind is constantly blowing through and I don't want lots of motion blur. You know, when you've got 150 megapixels, any imperfections, so any movement is it's going to show up. So hopefully this will be fine. So we'll get the image, and I'm really excited to see the detail in this shot. So I've just zoomed in. I've got the image on the screen, the preview of the photograph just taken, and I thought I'd zoom in and check, you know, sharpness and focus and make sure there's not too much movement within the scene. And I thought I was at 100% because it zoomed right in. And I looked, I was only at like 36% or something like that. So actually, when you go into 100, it's utterly ridiculous. Like, utterly ridiculous. And wow. That's crazy. That is crazy. The detail I can see just on the back of this screen is immense. I'm going to try this shot at f16, and I'm focusing on the subject, which is this beautiful tree framed by a gap in this stone wall. And we have a low battery warning, and the mist is blowing through, ladies and gentlemen. The mist is blowing through. Right, here we go. Right, I've got my scene, and I'm going to do a pano, a vertical pano. So I'm going to use the rise and fall of the rear of this camera to take two shots, which I'm hoping will give me a square image. So, first shot, f16 focused on the tree. And of course, this should be a seamless stitch because there's no movement in the actual lens. So the image remains exactly the same. You don't get any warping or skewing or anything like that. And hopefully, this composition isn't too busy. Kind of hoping the gap in the wall with the focal point of the tree should be enough to hold the viewer's eye, especially with all the mist and atmosphere we've got kicking around. Seems the weather's taken a turn for the worse. We're now late in the afternoon and it has not let up. The weather rolled in, the wind, the absolutely horrendous torrential rain. And, you know, I don't mind a bit of autumnal rain photography, but this type of rain is just beyond anything. So I think what we'll do is we'll probably move off. You'll notice that we are in an apartment. That's right, we are staying in the centre of Keswick. Now, full disclosure, I haven't rented this. I was offered this in return for telling you guys about the flat. Now, I'm usually a bit uneasy doing this kind of marketing on my channel, but when I saw the weather forecast and the thought of spending a week in my van when it's raining every single day, man, I hope you understand, but I am happy to explain the benefits of staying in a city, oh, it's not a city, is it? It's the benefits of staying in a town centre apartment in Keswick. Like, I can have a shower, there's a beautiful bathroom, and there's even a towel rail where I can dry all of my stuff. There's a big double bed, there's a kitchen, but more importantly, there is space to spread all my gear out, dry it off, because when you're in the van and it's raining, what gets wet stays wet. And when you're working with 3 different cameras, there isn't room in my van for 3 different cameras and me. So that becomes tricky. So now I've got all my gear, I've got my laptop, I've got, you know, lots of changes of clothes, so I don't care if I get wet. All of it, it can all be managed in this rather stylish flat. I have to say it is very nice. So I'll make sure that I link to that in the description below. But yeah, I don't think you'll mind. I don't think you'll mind. Would you rather me stay here or rather watch me suffer in the van for a week? Actually, no, don't answer that. Now let me give you my initial impressions on this camera, which I feel I have no right to review. In fact, this isn't a review. This is just a lucky lad who got to use the best camera on the market, bar none. All right, let's have a bit of fun and start with the negatives, because you know I love to pick up on the negatives of everything in life, and this camera is no different. So, first and foremost, the price tag, 50 grand. I'm never going to buy one, ever, and I expect you're also not going to buy one, but there is a place for this camera. Maybe you might want to hire it for a specific project, something like that, but could you really justify dropping 50 plus grand on a camera and a lens? Man, I don't know, you'd have to be pretty wealthy to do that. Another negative, the startup time. If I'm going to talk about the startup time, let's see. Let's power it up and give it a go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So there we go. About 17 seconds. So I don't think that's too bad. There is a lot going on in this IQ4 back, mainly 150 megapixels. Now 17 seconds, yeah, it's a long time, and when you're in the field and it's all kicking off, it does feel like an age. But this camera is designed to be used slowly and with great thought and attention to detail. But it doesn't matter who you are, if the light's kicking off, you're going to be fairly frantic. So that's it, those are my 2 negatives. The truth is this has been a pleasure to use in the field. The rise and the fall of the back and the shifting it left to right to fine tune your composition is just something else. And this, you know, not having to take the camera off the tripod to rotate from horizontal to portrait is a joy as well. And I tell you, the best thing about this camera, when you take an image and you double tap to 100% and you see all of the detail on the back of this screen, it's incredible. And I'm so excited for getting the images into Capture One and having a look. And there is so much more to do with this camera, so many more features that I haven't yet had a chance to use. I will be shooting with this camera again in coming videos, but I'll also be mixing it with my GFX and my Hasselblad 501cm, because unfortunately this camera didn't quite come with the lens choice that I like. I prefer to shoot with a longer focal length. So there were a few situations where I couldn't quite make a shot work with this camera. But I tell you what, if I find those compositions that work with these lenses, I'll be all over it. And finally, I'd like to end this video with a message from the official sponsor, which is Squarespace. Now, if you need a photography website, or in fact any kind of website, but in particular a photography website with a nice gallery, an online shop, your own domain, well, I would definitely recommend Squarespace because it's so easy. You don't need to know anything about building websites, anything about code. You can just log in and use their drag and drop system. I know because I've done it myself on a couple of websites and had no problems at all, and I don't know anything about code. So if you are interested in a nice website, go to squarespace.com/𝘧𝘧𝘪𝘭𝘪𝘢 and give it a free try. And even if you get stuck, they've got 24/7 customer service, although I would just recommend going on YouTube and searching and watching a few videos, and then you'll be away in no time. And if you like free trial, use the offer code 𝘧𝘧𝘪𝘭𝘪𝘢 and get 10% off your first purchase. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching. If you've stayed until the end, I don't know, just thank you again. I don't really have anything else to say other than the usual book and calendar plug if you haven't already got it. And I guess I will see you next time when yeah, who knows what we'll be shooting with. No idea. But either way, it's going to be wet. Bye bye.